What's going on? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics, and up next, we are going to be talking about the top sales that I saw this last week. There are some big sales, almost $1 million in comics, some cool books, a mix of strong and weak sales, but honestly, surprisingly strong from what I've seen. Let's check these out. All right, so before we get started, please remember to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. So what we are talking about is the recent Comic Link auction. It's actually still ongoing, but in the first few days of the auction, that's when they sell their really big books. I covered some of these in the 9.9 and 10.0 video, but these books are much more expensive than those. This is the high-end market. So take from that what you will. When there is strength in the high-end market, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be strength in the mid-tier, lower-end markets. It just means that people that have a lot of money to spend on comics still have a lot of money to spend on comics. However, we have been seeing that market drop as well over the last couple of years. It's not like really expensive books that people were paying hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars for just stayed up at those elevated comic boom prices. We've seen them come down too. Like Hulk 181 sold for around 150,000 in a 9.8 at one point. It's down now around 50 to 60,000. So high-end books have corrected as well. So it's still interesting to me to look at these and see if we're seeing prices stabilize in that market as well, or if they're continuing to go down. Plus, it's just cool to see some of these books. So let's get into this. Like I said, we've got about $1 million in sales. I'm calling it the top 10 sales this week, but I put in 2 honorable mentions as well because felt like they were worth talking about. So let's go check out the Comic Link auction page. If you still want to bid on things, they do still have this auction ongoing. You can see here, session 2 goes through September 4th, and they have an art session on September 5th. Lots of crazy books that are part of this, some original art that obviously always goes for tons of money. But we're going to start with the first honorable mention, and I was surprised what this book sold for. We've got Werewolf by Night, number 32, first appearance of Moon Knight, a 9.8 off-white pages, so not even white pages, for everybody that comes at me with page quality, not even white pages. Let's come down and take a look at this. I mean, a really great looking book. So I love this cover. I actually had a copy that was one of my keeper books for a while. But yeah, I really do like this cover. I think I wasn't really into the show. I watched maybe, 4 or 5 episodes, something like that. And I ended up dropping it. I didn't finish it, but this was a big sale. $42,444 for the first appearance of Moon Knight. Let's go check that out compared to prior sales. So we go over to GPA, GP analysis, one of the tools that I often use for pricing. We can see here, back in 2022, there were some bigger sales. Comic Boom, there were some bigger sales, but just earlier this year in April, a 9.8 sold for $26,400. Let's check out the price history here. And prior to the Comic Boom, I mean, 30,000, that's around when we knew there was a Moon Knight show coming. So a little hype there, up to 70,000 in 2022. Then 26,400 this year, and that was on Heritage. We can check out that sale as well. This is also an off-white pages copy, and then we've got this copy right here. It sold for $42,444. So very, very strong sale for this book. This is one where there are not a ton of copies on the census in 9.8. We can take a look at the census for this. You can see only 22 9.8s. So out of 5,438 universals, only 22 9.8s out there. So definitely a tough 9.8 to get, but still very, very big sale for this book. All right, now the next one is Amazing Spider-Man number 1, CGC 8.0. This one is off-white to white pages. Let's go check out the sales history for Amazing Spider-Man. So this is another book that, it went really high during the Comic Boom. And this is a continuation of a trend down. Now, 8.0s, that type of grade, don't sell all that often, but you can see an 8.5 sold in January for 66,000. We had an 8.0 for 52,000 in June of last year, 7.5 for 38,000 in September of last year, a 7.0 for 18,000 just in July. So this 8.0 went for $44,776. And so you can see that's still about $8,000 down from about a year ago. So definitely a book that is continuing to trend down. Let's see, it's not, again, not one that sells all that often. 2020, it was about 45,000. So we're pretty much right back in line with the pre-comic boom pricing. And so that's probably around where you could say this book should be. And so not like it's a overpayment or a big overcorrection, but I mean, even look at this 2019, 44,400. So I'd say this is more or less in line with where it probably should be. Just finally took that time to correct down to this price. But this is the second honorable mention that we're talking about. Now for the top 10 sales. Now, I did leave out a couple because there were some duplicates that were in there, like with Amazing Fantasy 15. And so I just wanted to talk about unique books. But number 10, this is definitely one I was watching. And if you see bids from me on here, it's not necessarily that I was going after it. It's that Comic Link doesn't have a watch list. So the way you can create a watch list is just make sure you bid early. And so when it's books I want to watch, you'll often see that I have a bid in there, but it was usually like I bid $100 or $1,000 and I was never going to win this book. I just wanted to see what it ultimately went for. So the first one here is Detective Comics number 33. Awesome book. This is one of the early Batman covers. His first cover is 27, second 29, third 31, and this is the fourth Batman cover. A great action cover. Take a close look at it. One of the things that's also commented on about this, it's got the gun holster when he still has that gun holster on his belt there. We've got first appearance of Thomas and Martha Wayne and Joe Chill. So big book, cool action cover, and this is a nice looking copy. I mean, it's a 3A. It's got that little CVA sticker saying it looks good for the grade. Creamed off white pages. Incredible book. This one went for $48,750. I've just been seeing early Detective Comics just keep getting stronger and stronger. That has been a very solid part of the comic market that I have definitely noticed. And so we'll go check out Detective Comics number 33, see how that price aligns with other sales that have gone on, because this is the type of book you're not going to have sales in the same grade all that often. I mean, you can see here a 3.0 last sale was in 2019, 5 years ago, for 34,000. We had a 3.5 for 45,600 in September. This was a 3.0 that went for 48,750. So more than that 3.5, 14,000 or so more than the 3.0 5 years ago. A lot more than this 1.5 that went for 29,000 in 2022. I mean, this was a solid sale for this book and continuing to show strength for these early Detective Comics books. So definitely something that I've noticed and I've been keeping an eye on. All right, now the next one. This 9.8 has continued to drop. This Fantastic Four number 48. First appearance of Silver Surfer, first cameo of Galactus. Even though I've said it before, same thing with Hulk 180 and Hulk 181. I mean, it's a full Galactus image on the last page. This is his name, all that kind of stuff. And so I feel like you'd have to call this one the first appearance of Galactus too. But let's take a look at pricing for this. So we've got Fantastic Four number 48. Now, my personal favorite is 49. I like the cover for 49 a lot more than I like the cover for 48. But 48 does tend to be the bigger book, except in really high grade. 48 is less rare in high grade than 49, and so it doesn't go for as much in really high grade. But you can see here, 9.8, last sale, 63,000. Earlier this year, it was at 96,000. Peak sale during the comic boom, 108,000. So I've been saying, especially in this grade, it does need to continue to correct, and we can see that here. Went for 52,999. I mentioned before, I'll say it again. These sales do not end up in GPA. I don't know exactly why. I've heard there's things like Comic Link doesn't or won't provide the serial number for the book, and there's certain things like, and they consider the sales proprietary, and so they want to keep them on their site. Whatever it is, I don't know for sure. I don't work for GPA. I don't work for Go Collect. I don't work for Comic Link, but I just know that those sales don't end up in here. So if you want to know about those sales, you either got to watch the auctions, watch this channel where I talk about some of these big sales. But this was definitely the low sale in the last 4 years. I mean, you go back to 2021, still 108,000. You have to go back to 2018 before you get a sale that's below this one. So kind of look at that, just the rough general trend line there. And this is probably about right. You know, I mean, this is a really popular book. It's a 9.8. It's a white pages copy. Let's take a look at this thing. I mean, it's a good looking book. And this is a really nice looking copy of Fantastic Four number 48. This is probably around what it's worth. I mean, it's always tough with these books that don't sell all that often, but, you know, and trying to draw trends from this. But also, we know we've got Galactus coming in the MCU. If they do it right, you know, who knows? Maybe that'll have some impact as well. But feels like about, you know, the right price for this book. So even though it dropped, I'm not disappointed in that sale or anything. I feel like that is around where it should probably be. All right, so next, one that I mentioned earlier in the video, we've got Incredible Hulk 181, also a continuation of the decline for this book. Now, this is one, I can't remember what I've said in the past. I think I predicted it should go down to between 50 and 60. It went up as high as, like I said, around 150,000. This was a $54,069 sale for a 9.8 white pages copy. It's got a little bit of a misrep there. You can see that white on the left edge. Pretty good looking copy. You can tell it's got a soft corner up here. Don't see anything else that really, you know, jumps out on this one. But 9.8, graded quite a while ago, has that 0 with the serial number. But I am pretty sure this would be the low sale for the last few years as well. So let's check this one out. Hulk number 181. First full appearance of Wolverine, you know, however you want to interpret that. But yeah, you can see here, April, $72,000. We had in 2023, 56,925 as the low. So this one at $54,069. That is the low going all the way back to 2022. 2021, it does have a lower sale at 45,000. So this is a low sale for the last around 3.5 years, probably, give or take. And again, you know, trying to draw some trends there. We kind of see the, you know, little trend line. I'd say I still think around 50. I mean, it could maybe drop down a little bit more. It is, I mean, one of the most popular characters of all time. And so you do have that, even though there are quite a few 9.8s out there, there are a lot of people that would love to have this book. I think around 50,000 is around what this book, you know, maybe bottoms out at. So seems like a pretty reasonable pickup, right around that price, and a 9.8 white pages copy. All right, next one. This was definitely a big step down. So this is Flash Comics number 1. This is the first appearance of Flash and Hawkman. This is a big Golden Age grail. This is a tough book. You do not see it very often. You do not see universal copies very often. You don't see anything with this book very often. This is a 2.0, actually a pretty decent looking copy. Yeah, I mean, the spine's all beat up, but no big pieces missing from it, anything like that. I believe it's 1940. Okay, so it's January 1940. I wouldn't be surprised if it was out on the newsstands in 1939. But I mean, this is a tough book. And so I was pretty surprised that this one went as low as it did. So let's go check out Flash Comics number 1. And you'll see what I'm talking about here. So here it says 1939, but on the label it says 1940. So we go down and we look at some recent sales. As recent as you're going to have with a book that hardly ever sells. You had a 5.0 go for 192,000 in January of last year. We had a 1.8 go for 84,000 in 2022. Now that was comic boom times. We had a 1.5 go for 85,000 in 2022. In 2021, we had a 2.0 go for 92,000. So yeah, those are peak comic boom time periods. But I mean, we had a 0.5 go for 27,600. I would have thought that this 2.0 would be at least like a $75,000 to $80,000 comic. And here we can see it went for just 57,000. So I think, let's see if the back has, I mean, yeah, even the back doesn't have like any big missing pieces or anything like that. I think whoever got this for a great price. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a dealer and we're going to see this book being flipped at some point pretty soon. Maybe they put it into a new case, something like that. But yeah, I think that this was a pretty big steal, and I wouldn't be shocked if we end up seeing it pop up for like 90,000 somewhere else. But yeah, Flash Comics number 1, 2.0, rare book. And maybe I should have tried to buy that book or something. It just feels like this is a great deal. All right, so sticking with huge golden age grails, we've got All American Comics number 16. Now, I was generally not planning to talk about any signature books, like books that had been signed, but this book is just so rare, especially, and we'll call this universal. Even though it's a signed copy, it's not a restored copy. This is the first appearance of Green Lantern. This book you see come up for sale probably less than that Flash Comics number 1. Extremely rare book. Let's take a look at it. This one is signed by Sheldon Moldoff. I do not like this signature on here. I don't like the Sheldon, Shelley, Moldoff box thing, especially not on this book. I don't like it, but it's still an All-American Comics number 16, still the first appearance of Green Lantern. And yeah, there's some like staining and stuff on the side, but again, no big missing pieces on the front, a little bit here on the back. This is a pretty solid book and went for $61,069. Let's go check out the prices for that one. So All American number 16. And yeah, just anytime I see like this book pop up or Flash Comics 1 pop up, I always watch because you just never see these books. I mean, look at this. Look at this. No sales since even 2022. Just nothing. I mean, we can probably find a restored copy. Yes, there's been one restored sale since 2022. I mean, that is how uncommon it is to see this book come up for sale. Let's see if that signed copy has ever sold before. I don't think so. Yeah, no, it has not. So when we just like go down and look at pricing, I mean, this one here is signed. It's a 1.8, $61,069. I mean, the most recent sale we've got an incomplete 0.5 for $16,000 in November of 2020. We have a 3.5 for $72,000 in September of 2020. I mean, this is the type of book, it's going to go for what it goes for just because it comes up so rarely. If somebody wants it, this is one of those few chances you can get. So from that perspective, 61,000 doesn't seem like that much. I mean, it does seem like a strong sale. I mean, it is much more than this 2.0 from 2020. I mean, double what that 2.0 went from 2020. So it's a strong sale for sure, but it's the type of book that it could have gone for less. It could have gone for a lot more. Just depends who's there. But I don't think the buyer or seller should be disappointed with this. I think you should be happy with the sale on this book if this was your book, and you should be very happy to own this amazing comic if you're the buyer. So yeah, All American number 16, just a couple books in a row you never see come up for sale. So that was pretty cool to see in this auction. Now we'll go one more Golden Age, and then we've got some Silver Age coming up. Superman number 1. I wanted to talk about this one because it's a restored copy, but this was, again, a solid sale, especially for a restored book. This is a 4.5, all 3 edges trimmed, color touch, pieces added, tear seals, reinforced, staples replaced, moderate to extensive, B4. So the 4 means the moderate to extensive, B means the quality of the restoration. A is professional, B is like slightly under professional, C is amateur. And so pretty decent restoration is what that's saying, but quite a bit of it. And all 3 edges trimmed, and still went for $62,888. This is a book that I think Superman 1 would be pretty cool to own. Like Action Comics 1, I know that's never gonna that's never gonna happen for me. But Superman number 1, I feel like that'd be a pretty cool. I like the cover is cool. It's an iconic cover, and it seems like at some point maybe it's doable. But let's add in the restored sales here. You can see what I mean with the strength of the sale. So we're just going to look at the trimmed sales. So we had a 6.0 A4 trimmed that went for $45,600. That is a pretty good comparison because this is a 4.5 trimmed and a B4. And so this one was professional level of restoration, so better restoration, also trimmed. This looks like probably a heritage sale. So heritage sale. I mean, this is a beautiful looking 6.0. Let's take a look at this one for comparison. I mean, this is also a very nice looking book, but 6.0 is nicer. And this one went for quite a bit more. I mean, just look at that. Like this one went for $45,600. This one went for $62,888. So quite a bit more for this copy. So I felt like this was a very, very solid sale. And as we go down a little bit more, we can see a B450 went for $25,000 in 2019. That's a very close comparison. We're 5 years later going for more than double. And then we had a 4.0 extensive professional. That's what the EP stands for. Go for 13,000 back in 2007. That's hardly one that you can really, compare to. But now you can see universals go for way more. A 5.0 universal went for 675,000 in 2023. So yeah, a universal goes in this grade goes for about 10 times as much, but still a very solid sale for a restored copy of Superman #1. All right, now we've got Incredible Hulk #1, 7.5. It's got the CVA sticker. I mean, it looks good for the grade. This is a very, very nice looking book. I mean, look at this thing. You hardly ever see this book this clean. I'd be curious what the flaws are that got it down to the 7.5. Looks like maybe there might be some little bit of staining down in that corner there, and that could be what really holds it back, because otherwise, wow, that is a beautiful copy of this book. So this one went for $79,019. Let's go check that sales history out. So Hulk #1. I'm going to look at a 7.5. See, I believe this one is still trending down some. So yeah, you can see here, January 2024 sold for $84,000. We've had a low sale in 2023 of $65,888. So this one at $79,019. I mean, not a bad sale at all. I mean, not the low or anything like that. So this feels like a very solid sale for this book. This one, if you have to go back to kind of pre-comic boom, I mean, there was a $70,000 sale there, $69,000 sale in 2018, probably about a $60,000 book. Now going for around 80. I can't say for sure if it's going to continue to drop. I feel like it could drop a little bit more, but overall, again, this feels like a pretty strong sale to me. It's less than the last sale, but it's more than some other sales from last year. That's really what you're kind of looking for is there some stability, or is everything still just ratcheting down with every sale? And this feels like some pretty good stability with this big Silver Age key. All right, next, we've got Amazing Fantasy 15. We got a 6.5, again, has this CVA sticker, off-white to white pages. I don't feel like this really deserves the sticker. I mean, it's got some pretty obvious multiple creases up in this corner up here. Like, to me, if you're given that sticker on there, it should be like maybe there's some little bit of spine splitting or a stain or something where the book still presents like super, like above its grade. Like, that's how I view that CVA sticker. It's presenting above its grade. This doesn't look like it's presenting above a 6.5. It looks like, looks like a 6.5. But, I'm not a huge fan generally of the CVA stickers anyway, but it just feels like it looks like a 6.5. But colors are fantastic on this one. You can tell there is a lot of Newton rings here. That's what this kind of like, I'm almost certain that's what this little bit of color distortion is there. It's probably Newton rings on the book. I don't personally really care about Newton rings. When you have the book like a few feet away from you on a shelf, you can't see them. It's just when you're looking at them up close. I know some people, it really bothers some people, but we had a 6.5 off-white to white CVA sticker, go for $100,000. So let's check out how that stands up. Amazing Fantasy #15. This is another book that I had a copy. I just sold mine recently. I know I'm going to try to get another copy again in the future. It's a book that I really like, and I would love to own again in the future. If we take a look at a 6.5 in January, we had $105,000 sale. But in 2023, we had 96,000, 91,000. We had the peak comic boom sales of 225, but those prices are gone. I'm not worried about those. But look at this, like 2020 is 72,000, 2019, 85. I mean, this one went for $100,000. This is one of those books that it just generally continues to trend up over time. I mean, you see these pretty consistent trends with this book. This feels pretty much in line. I think that this was a strong, solid sale. I don't think it was a big overperformance. I don't think it was an underperformance. One of those sales that, again, buyer and seller should be happy with this sale. And yeah, just that's what I've been seeing in this auction, at least with these high-end books. A lot of books that just are selling either strong or where you think they should, not continuous underperformers, which I think is notable. All right, next one. I can't think of the last time I've seen this book sell in this grade. Got Amazing Spider-Man number 50, first appearance of Kingpin, one of the most iconic Romita covers of all time. And so we've got a 9.8. I think this is white pages. Yep, 9.8 white pages. Let's take a look at it. I mean, it's a good looking book. I mean, I don't see any like soft corners or anything jumping out. I don't see spine ticks jumping out. Like that is a nice looking copy of this book. Amazing Spider-Man number 50, 9.8, first appearance of Kingpin, white pages. Let's check out the pricing on that. I do remember I checked this one a little bit, and this was a strong sale. This is a solid sale for this book. And so we look at 9.8. I mean, look at that. Comic Boom, November 2022, 99,000. So this was actually a new record. 2020 went for 55,000, 2014, 30,000. So this sale, 125,000, actually getting a new record. We do not see new records, especially with books that sold during the comic boom, very often. And so this is a significant sale. I mean, 25% approximately more than that 9.8 back in 2022. Again, it's too bad that this doesn't get pulled into GPA because I don't know, you want to see those big record sales in there. You want that history of that sale, but very significant sale in my opinion for this book and a very nice presenting copy. See if anything on the back cover. I mean, no, looks good. Great looking book. All right. So now the final book. This was the biggest sale of the auction. There might have been some original art maybe that went for more, but I'm not tracking the original art. This was Fantastic Four number 1, a 9.0. Also has that CVA sticker. A lot of those CVA stickers up in these books, but it has that CVA sticker here. And let's take a look at this one. It's a good looking book. It's a solid looking book. It has that same, it's off white pages, but it has that same thing that I often see with this book. Just, it's always some discoloration with the white on Fantastic Four number 1. You very rarely get something where it hasn't started to turn like a little bit of this cream type color. Back cover looks really nice as well. This is a book that you do, again, often get some smudging of the ink that's on the back cover of this one. But this was also a very respectable sale because this book has been continuously correcting since the comic boom. And maybe this has to do with the movie that's coming out. I have no idea, but definitely a respectable sale. So let's look at this. So you can see here, November 2022, again, comic boom period, sold for 234,000 is the last sale. And here, sold for 244,000. So it's not a record. I mean, during the comic boom, somebody paid $420,000 for a copy of this book. 2021, still comic boom period, 264,000. But going prior to that, 161, 165, 143. So outside of those spikes that we had in 2021, 2022, this is the high sale. Like this is a pretty strong sale. Again, a respectable sale for this book. So I just think that those are notable and worth making, commenting on and just being aware of. Like I said at the beginning, though, when you're talking about books that are selling for $250,000, $250,000, $125,000, like these really high end books, it is not the same market as the mid-tier market, as the low end market. And so you just take that for what it's worth, but it does mean that there is strength in this segment of that market. And that's generally what I'm seeing here. And we saw that on Bronze Age books, that Werewolf by Night 32, Silver Age books like Fantastic Four number 1, Amazing Spider-Man 50, and Golden Age books, the All-American 16, the Superman number 1. But there were some weak sales out there too. I mean, I'm not saying everything was strong. I mean, this Flash Comics number 1, definitely a weak sale that was out there. And this, I mean, the Amazing Spider-Man number 1, I wouldn't call it a weak sale, but it went around what you'd think it would, but it was still correcting down from those prior prices. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. You saw some cool books, got an idea of at least what's going on in the high-end market. And if you're in the market for some comics, Comic Link auction. I'm not sponsored by them, I'm just saying Comic Link auction is still ongoing and goes through September 5th of this coming week. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell, and I will see you on the next one.